Hello and welcome to another Kerbal Space Program adventure. Here we are at the KSC and we're going to meet up with our unmanned probe, which is taking a tour around the neighborhood, a stroll around the neighborhood, if you will, of, well, the Jool neighborhood. Now I've said neighborhood 3 times. It's already off to a great start. So here is our probe. We've got a nuclear engine, our fuel tank, we have some reaction wheels, a decoupler, which behind it is our ion engine and xenon gas, which powers that. We have our materials science lab, some various instruments for gravity and temperature, and I think a barometer of sorts. We have our mystery goo container, and we have our lovely Gigantor solar panels, which help transmit our data with power. Well, they don't transmit it, but they help with the power, and they fold. So here we are in orbit. Well, not exactly orbit. We have an encounter with Jool, and we are just hurtling through the system. So we're going to have to make some corrections to get ourselves into orbit of this system. So who are our neighbors here in this system? We have Lathe, which is a nice planet with an atmosphere. Val, kind of a blue ice ball. Tylo, just a big, gigantic rock. And Bob. So we are in Tylo's sphere of influence right now, and Tylo is about as big as the Kerbal home planet, which is supposed to be an analog for Earth. Before we leave Tylo's influence, we should do a little bit of science. We have a fun message here from our materials study laboratory, giving us a bit of a Stanley Kubrick touch. We are on an encounter with Lathe, a very close encounter, about 31,000 meters. Lathe is fortunate enough to have an atmosphere, and we're going to use this atmosphere to slow us down without using our engines, saving the precious fuel for the encounters that we need to make with these other planets to get our precious science, which we've just seen grabbing. So we're going to try and send a little bit of science off back to home base before we get to the atmosphere, and we just barely make it before we start burning through. I'm sure in real life that this would fall apart. But you can see that this is bringing our apoapsis down. So now we will be in somewhat of an awkward orbit, but one that just by chance got us a lot of really great encounters with other moons in Jool without having to do a whole lot of work. The primary goal of this mission is science. Now you're probably asking, what the hell does all this science do for me? You might also ask that if you are a member of the Tea Party caucus. But this is our science tree, and in this version of the game we have parts that we start out with, these basic parts here. These are just what you started with the game, just these 6 parts. And so by researching things, by throwing stuff out into space, we gain more parts that we can purchase with our science points. So I decided that we need to rename our vessel, and I figure we're going to call it the Jules Verne after a bit of a namesake for this system. As you can see, the top is now cropped off because I'm an idiot and moved the screen, so that will be fun. So now that we have left Lathe, we are trying to set up an encounter with Bop, which is in a bit of an awkward orbit compared to us, a bit inclined. We're also going the opposite direction of all of the planets, or moons, sorry. Very light. The scientific notation is about 3.7 times 10 to the 19th kilograms. That's big. I don't really know exactly what it means. Now we're going to burn for a bit of a correction to try and get ourselves an encounter with, I believe, Paul. Paul is next. Pol or Paul, P-O-L, however we want to say it. It's just a matter of pushing those nodes in and out until finally we get that encounter and making our small burn corrections to get there. Trying to be very conservative with our fuel here. We've got about 4 or 5 moons to see, and we want to be able to see them all, hopefully without tapping into our ion engine, because I'm lazy and I don't want to wait through all of that. Again, each moon is going to get us more science points, which will unlock more technologies that we can use to go to other places. And now we're just swinging around to try and fine-tune our approach. Again, this game really should just be called Pushing Maneuver Node Space Station, because most of these encounters will take me about 5 or 10 minutes a piece to set up. This has been easier than some. I just lucked out, I guess, into this right orbit after our Lathe encounter, which pulled us into the system. But it looks like we've got something close. Again, there's no atmosphere on this moon, so we won't be doing any aero braking. We'll just be flying by it. Of course, every time we fly by something, our orbit will change ever so slightly. Here we are again with another Lathe encounter. Of course, they look the same, but that's just a matter of perspective. But soon we will be hitting Val, much larger than Bop. Val has a mass of about 3.1 times 10 to the 21st kilograms, which is considerably bigger. Of course, we are passing along the dark side, so there's not much to see right now, but as we fly by, we can see a pale blue, perhaps some sort of ice-based planet, or perhaps made with blue raspberry Slurpee, which apparently blue raspberry Slurpee, fun fact, came to be because the manufacturers could not make red raspberry because of the food dye. That has nothing to do with rocket science. So we're going to try and get our periapsis, our lowest point in our orbit, a little bit through the atmosphere of Jool. Now we've lost our nuclear engine. That is gone. So we are using our very efficient yet very, very, very slow ion engine, which is, it's kind of a set and forget kind of thing. I set it up, I walk away, it takes about 5 minutes to do a pretty simple correction. So it's very good that we're coming to the end of our Jool neighborhood mission. As we fly by Tylo again, we're going to do another correction to get our periapsis just low enough. It's about 138,000 meters where the atmosphere starts. Jool is, of course, a big gas giant. That's why it looks like a massive behemoth in the sky. It's a bit of an analog to, I suppose, Jupiter or Saturn. No rings, but a big gas giant nonetheless. Again, another slight correction as Tylo's gravity has pulled us slightly off course. Tylo again, very, very, very large moon. No atmosphere, apparently very difficult to land on. Alright, and now we're on course for the Jolly Green Giant, the gigantic P floating in the sky, Jool. We start to burn up a little bit. We're going to retract our solar panels so they don't go flying off. I'm surprised they haven't gone flying off, even though we're not in the very dense atmosphere yet. We can see our periapsis, or our apoapsis, sorry, is going down. And everything I keep getting on the dark side of the planets here. Very difficult to send science out, but we do collect a little bit of data. I think we only got temperature data. We weren't low enough to get any pressure or gravity data. But there we are. We have made a tour of the Jool neighborhood. It wasn't that fun. So thanks for watching. Goodbye.